Ladies and gentlemen and ladies, I want to thank everybody for coming out tonight. On your screen as we begin tonight, let's remember that we are talking about bringing the truth about Summer Moon Utah Wells, 6/15/2021, Rogersville, Tennessee. A place that nowhere on a map ever existed or anybody ever paid attention to. White female, blonde hair, blue eyes, 40 pounds, 3 feet tall. Last seen wearing gray pants, pink shirt, possibly barefoot. If you have any information about her whereabouts, not anything I say or any other YouTuber says. If you have a tip that leads to her being found, either recovered or rescued, please call Hawkins County Sheriff's Department 423-272-7121 or 1-800-TBI-FIND. It's important that she be found. So justice, if there is a such thing as justice, can be had for Summer Moon Utah Wells. I want to thank everybody for coming out tonight. I do appreciate that, you doing so. Did I put Summer's name in? Yes, I did. I did put Summer's name in there. So I did put John Q. Carlock, John QQ, sorry, Q Carlock is another creator. I put a link in the description tonight of a live I did 5 months ago with John Q. We're going to be taking a look at a clip from that because as much as that was relevant information when Summer Moon Utah Wells went missing, as it was relevant information that happened 5 months ago, it is relevant information today. It is becoming more relevant today. Why? Don Wells is speaking out. And when he does so, he's trying to hide and defend his choice of religion. Before we deep dive into that, we're going to take just a moment to say hi to everybody. And when we do so tonight, I don't know about you, but I'm a bit of a parrot head. And I'm a little bit sad tonight that last night, one of my favorite artists, musicians in the whole entire world, passed away. If you don't know, I am speaking of Jimmy Buffett. So in honor of loving his music and everything else, I made a little bit of a mocktail tonight. If you don't know what a mocktail is, it's a cocktail, but it's without any alcohol. I don't hide that I cannot drink alcohol. So I have a mocktail margarita tonight. So what is everybody else drinking tonight? Start with that as I say hello to everybody and see how everybody's doing. Miss Justice, thank you very much for coming out. I do appreciate your support. Huntress, to you as well. Carrie, always from day one has been supporting me. I thank you very much because we are getting close to 2 years of having my channel. Miss Justice, again, thank you. Huntress, thank you. Lip Lock No More, thank you very much for coming out. Pen 1010, thank you. I appreciate you doing so. Scott H, thank you very much for coming out. I appreciate you doing so. Hope you have a good evening. Yes, Lip Lock No More. Jimmy Buffett passed away last night. Scott H, absolutely. And he'd be enjoying that, I'm sure. Annabelle Roma, thank you for coming out tonight. Huntress, throwing up some parrots. Thank you. We do appreciate you doing so. We're not getting a huge crowd tonight, folks. I don't think. I hope people will come out. Janice, thank you very much for coming out. I do appreciate you doing so. I hope that more people will come out as we really get started here, because I think we're really going to hit some. We're really going to hit some points tonight that are just going to shred what the Wells have been saying, specifically Don Wells. By the way, he's over on the farm right now, spewing more manure. Justice Jane, thank you for coming out. Appreciate you doing so. Sunny Days, thank you. He's over on the Crazy Farm, whatever she wants to call herself, right now. The Sour Cream Channel. Spewing more of his BS, of course, more lies, more controlling the narrative, or at least attempting to. Lisa Kleckner, Pat Wicks, thank you very much for coming out. Everybody hearing me okay? Miss Justice, I apologize, but we've got to talk about him tonight. We've got to talk about him. The past 4 nights of what he has been saying is ridiculous. And yes, Annabelle Roma, it took less than 25 minutes for them to put the Cash App out. Less than 25 minutes of her opening up that channel tonight, and the Cash App was out. Country Girl, thank you very much for coming out. I do appreciate you do so. She ran calling wildfire. Thank you for being here. Who said what? Thank you very much for being here. I appreciate you doing so. Katerina Rostova. Again, I'm just saying hi to everybody for a little bit. If you have anything special to drink tonight, let me know. We're having a good night tonight. Jam 420, I'm sorry. We're going to talk about them. I promise. I have a steno pad that I've been writing down notes all day. All day. 3.5 pages. Granted, I had to work, so it's not like I was straight through writing. 3.5 pages of notes on a steno pad of just what Don Wells was saying. Katerina, thank you very much. I appreciate you doing so. I appreciate you coming in. I don't try to play games with my titles. Not like some other creators who plays games with their titles. The reason the title is "Who was the victim?" 6/15/2020. It says 21. Don Wells. We're going to start right there with the title tonight. Don Wells has been going around lately. Molly Callie, thank you very much for coming out. Lip Luck No More, I appreciate you being here all together. Don Wells has been going around again, trying to convince everybody that he is the victim. Summer Wells is not the victim, according to him. He is the victim. That's what the title's all about. In a Now, both of all these quotes that I'm going to come up with, or all these things that I'm going to say tonight, are my research on a couple things, and I'll point that out as we go, but mainly are based on quotes. Some I've had to paraphrase, some I was able to take exact quotes. What Don Wells has been saying on Voices Behind the Wall, where he's been obfuscating, big word moment, he's been obfuscating what the gag order again. Since he's been told he's not to be appearing on or be going on channels on through StreamYard or any other service that he could be appearing on YouTube and talking about Summer or the boys, he's now decided that it's okay for him to call a creator on a phone and have them air the phone call out over the air. We're going to start with the what Don Wells had said on Voices Behind the Wall 4 days ago, possibly 5 days ago at this point. When I was looking at it earlier, it said 4 days ago. One of the very first things that he was asked was, has anybody been cleared? And his answer is, no one was cleared. With a half-witted laughter, in my opinion. Like he has someone on his mind. He continues to say that he called the 911 somewhere around 5:30 or 6:30, or he says whatever. And that it had been perfect timing for somebody to go up on the hill to take Summer. We're going to go back and I'm going to at this point say, remember that the TBI press release they keep referring everybody to says there is no evidence of a kidnapping. No evidence of a kidnapping. No evidence of a kidnapping. He brings up the name. They bring up the name Sean Williams, which is a person that was arrested over in Asheville, North Carolina, in connection to some incidents that were happening on the University of North Carolina campus that is in Asheville that involve assaults, that involve P-word video taken of the assaults, drug charges, of which, please, how they discovered all this information. Hello, LC, how are you doing tonight? How they discovered all this information about Sean Williams was based on drug charges. The investigation coming off that drug charges had led into them finding all this evidence on his computer. None of it has ever been released to say anything about Summer Wells, although there was some child P word. If you know what I mean by that, please don't type in the chat. Just go, gotcha. Hello, Elsie. How are you doing? Anybody else that I've come out? Yes, thank you, Carrie, for putting up that trigger warning. Thank you very much. I'm not holding back, so thank you for putting that up. True Colors, how are you doing tonight? Thank you very much for coming out. Yes, True Colors. It took less than 25 minutes of her being live for that Cash App to be put out there. Cat's Eyes, thank you. And Sherry's Opinion, thank you both for coming out. I appreciate you letting me know. They go on to talk about the barrel, the burn barrel. If you follow what I mean, it's a 55-gallon drum burn barrel that had for sale written on it or painted on it, in which Don Wells says it was possibly from a spray foam insulation company, and that video was taken by Candace. Cosplay, thank you very much for coming out. I appreciate you being here. Yes. Carrie again is right. I keep forgetting to say things tonight. Like all persons and persons are presumed innocent until proven guilty in a court of law. And that, of course, has everything to do with Sean Williams. So Don Wells says that photo was actually taken by Candace. Janice, I agree with you 100%. I really, really do. Just taking a look at those, the first and the third question. I'm ignoring the second point about the what happened with Sean Williams over in North Carolina, was associated with the universe, everything happened in Asheville. Taking a look at the first and that second question. You already have. I already have the two prime suspects at this point. I've got to believe they're the prime suspects at this point. No matter what theory you believe that has been put out there, and I'm not covering every single theory, saying that it had to be a kidnapping. Again, misquoting the time about the 911 call, saying it had to be 5:30. It was 5:30. It was 5:30 or 6:30 or whatever. Yes, exactly, Janice. And that she said he admitted that no one was cleared. That's self-including. That's including Don Wells. The person that is speaking this is saying that no one was cleared. If I remember correctly, it wasn't just myself that caused them burn barrels of 55-gallon drums. It was for a foam insulation company. If it was for a foam insulation company, those barrels, why would you want that or chemical or those chemicals to be around kids? There's got to be some trace elements of those chemicals that are used to make that spray foam. And I'm sure you cannot use that to burn garbage in for environmental reasons or reasons that it would be not safe for the kids to be around. The burning of those chemicals to create that foam. Exactly, Jam. Jam for 20, exactly. Does anything they do make any sense? They are two of a kind. Yes, exactly. They're two pieces. Forget two of a kind. We're not playing poker here. Let's just say they're two peas in a pod. They're that connected to each other, intertwined they're codependent on each other. They're that codependent on each other. He was asked a question about Robin. Being involved. And he completely ignores the question. Completely ignored the question. And wanted to focus on drugs in the area. You're asked a question about a specific person, but you're trying to steer the direction into your neighbors and drugs. It felt like he was trying to start to focus on one particular person. And the way he worded his answer, I took it as a confession on activity that happened on Ben Hill Road and including his own property. What they were doing leading up until the 15th. Carrie, you're really on the spot tonight. Thank you very much. I appreciate you doing so. When Voices Behind the Wall finally got let him answer and let him speak, got him to focus back on Robin, it was on something I never heard. Something I never found any information on. In my research into the SDA church. And I'm having a hard time saying this because I just can't believe it. Re-asked about Robin being involved in an SDA church adoption agency program. They're alleging that Summer, 5-year-old blonde-haired, blue-eyed girl, was whisked up into their own SDA church adoption program and adopted without the Wells' permission. Now, this is where I said we're going to go and take a look at the video I had done, and that link, it's in the description. Bear with me a second here, folks. I appreciate your patience with me. This comes from a video that I had done, and I'll mute myself for a few moments while I play this. This is a video that I had done, and I actually redid because when I originally did this, I felt like I needed to do a better job on it, and I had done so 5 months ago. Listen to what is being said, what you're seeing on the screen and being said, this comes from a thesis paper, University of Florida International, I believe it is. I go over the information of where this is coming from, where this thesis paper was in the original video. If you really want to go and dig into it, please do so. I start really going into this just minutes before this. But let's take a listen. The portion I have here, which is the ethical position, and it talks about the SDA school system. And I'll come back and explain a little bit more information as I did back then of why this is really important. This is a social crime. You were speeding. Go pay your ticket and don't cry about it. Right. Or this is a moral thing ties to this as we're going.
What are your thoughts?
Saying RJ. Here it is.
All right.
In it, all of everything that I was saying. Yes, I was explaining some information about the teacher, and I was explaining something of information about the administrator, because it's a setup. As I was saying earlier, it's a setup that not only are they going to follow in the school, but in the church itself. The ethical positions is where everything ties together. And just so anybody knows, if you want to look up this document, it's page 58 of this dissertation. There are 4 ethical positions from which the administrator, teacher, or student may evaluate social conduct and social relationships. Legalism or unlimited absolutism. I'm going to mispronounce this. This is a Latin word, folks, so bear with me. Antinomianism or unlimited relativism. Limited relativism or situation ethics. And finally, limited absolutism. We need to look at this Latin word.
That is dead Latin for sure.
We need to look at this Latin word and exactly what it means. The definition by Merriam-Webster Dictionary says, one who holds that under the gospel dispensation of grace, the moral law is no use or obligation because faith alone is necessary to salvation. One who rejects a social establishment of morality. If they had knowledge of what happened to Summer, and instead of confessing what happened to Summer to the police,
couldn't say,
and went to the church and said, we're in a situation that we need your help. By what this is saying,
they couldn't say.
The SDA church follows.
Wow.
They cannot say. Number two, it is the responsibility of the church to sit there and decide what is the appropriate punishment above and beyond the law of the land.
Mm-hmm.
Did you all catch that? I mean, really, did you catch what that was that is actually saying? If they went to the church, confessed to the church what happened to Summer, and they say that internally they're going to establish what is appropriate action. They believe it's a punishment from God, and they don't have to go ahead and report that to the police. Think about that for a moment. All this time, and I'm not saying this is 100% the answer. I'm saying we got to look at this. Because as much as it was relevant when Summer went missing, as much as it was 5 months ago, and I don't remember what happened that made me redo it, but there's had to be something going on that triggered me into going back into redoing this, not just because I needed to do it better. There had to be something going on, and I don't remember what it was 5 months ago. As just as much as it was relevant as when Summer went missing, as it was relevant 5 months ago, as Don Wells is making it relevant today. Janice, I've always believed that. I've always believed that the church was the uppers, not some PI or anything else. And Liplock, this is why I keep saying that you and I need to sit down and have that conversation, because you and I would have a conversation about the SDA and Jehovah's Witnesses that would shock the YouTube. I believe the answer has always been right in front of us about what happened in Summer Wells. But there's so much manure been piled up, and as I say, it piled up on Ben Hill Road, that we just don't see it. We can't see it. Catholicism, Scott H. Catholicism and the place of confession, how it is considered to be a sanctuary, even though sanctuary is something that actually is not practiced any longer. As long as it's not supposed to have a moral of somebody being unalived. That they're under no moral obligation. It's part of legalism. The church does not have to report it. I go on to say that if a person goes to the church and says I was caught speeding, they're going to turn around and say go pay your ticket and don't cry about it. Essentially, but in something like this, where you take it to the church and you confess to the church, legalism of the church says that what they say is the punishment supersedes the law of the land. And just so everybody sees the question I was answering with Scott H. just there, that's his question. It would be interesting to research if there was a legal precedent in which that was used in court. As far as I am, that is the legal precedent, what I was just saying. Don Wells goes on to say, and if you want, we can return to the whole issue with the SDA church in a few moments. In fact, I believe I will be returning in just a couple moments. Actually, let's go ahead and skip to that. Since we're talking about this the SDA church. Don Wells goes on to defend the SDA church as the church for today. But does not quote how the Bible applies. No, Katerina, I did not. If you have information about that, email it to me. I'm pretty sure Carrie or Miss Justice or Cosplay, if she's still here, will drop my email in just a moment because I'm mentioning it. The SDA church, Don says the SDA church is the church for today. Little Miss Sunshine, thank you very much. I appreciate you coming out. But did not quote anything from the Bible to prove it. Instead, he quotes a book that is not accepted as the part of as part of the Bible, based on historical events, called The Great Controversy. And I'm sure if Liplock was here, she would enable to chat for a second. I'm sure she'll be able to tell you that how Mormonism has books that it considers canon that is not part of the Bible, just like Islam has books that it is not canon, but they consider to be part of the Bible. Canon, for those who are not aware, it just means that it's the mainstream of Christianity, what's accepted from the I'm forgetting which. It has, the Catholic Church held a meeting to sit down and decide what was canon, what was the Bible, and what was not. And I can't remember what the doctrine or whatever it was, the meeting, the council that they came up with, what their name is. And for some reason, I want to say, and it was something like, I want to say 67 AD, but I'm probably wrong. This book, The Great Controversy, bear with me a second, folks. I appreciate your patience with me. According to Wikipedia, I'm about to show you what I'm referring to in Wikipedia. Is part of a 5-volume set. a 5-volume set. That is supposedly written by one person. I'm not going into who wrote that. You can go if you want to take a look and research this yourself. Okay. The 5-volume set, bear with me just a second here. And we're not here to sit here and debate any religion ideas. I'm just showing you what I am talking about. We're not here to debate religion. That's not our what we're intended to be here. Okay, so the Great Controversy book is written by Ellen G. White, one of the founders of the Seventh-day Adventist Church, and held in esteem as prophetess or messenger of God from among the Seventh-day Adventist members. In it, White describes great controversy between Jesus Christ and Satan as played out over the millennia, going and so forth and so on and so forth. And they stop believing, no matter what you believe or not, about the Bible, about Christianity, about any religion. They stop believing that the Bible, or they believe that the Bible stopped when when Jerusalem was destroyed in AD 70. And that is what the book that is known as the Great Controversy was written. And it's volume 5 of a set of books called The Conflict of Ages. It's a book series. Just like other fringe religions, as I was mentioned before, that believe in books that are not part of the Bible. It tries to say that Bible is only accurate up to 70 AD. My apologies. I'm repeating some information. I just want to make sure I'm getting what I quoted or what I researched down correctly, which was the destruction of Jerusalem. These books in the research that I was able to prove, I've seen a couple of different dates. Okay. Be careful on your dates on this. It doesn't make sense. Some of them do not make sense and some of them do. Like, get volume 1, book 1 is supposed to be from 1858. There's a 53-year gap of in between the two books, or 4 books that are listed here. It's published several times here. Bear with me a second. I'm looking for a link in here that it will take me to another page in Wikipedia. It is believed that there is not just one writer of these books. It was not written by just one person. Okay. I'm not seeing the link I found earlier. I apologize. But if you want to research it, I've also found dates that were saying that volume 1 was written in 1890. Volume 2 was written in 1917. Volume 3 was written in 1898. Excuse me, I think these were actually published dates. Volume 4 was 1911. Volume 5 is 1911. So a lot of inconsistency of when these books were either written or published. I've said from day one, there's problems within the SDA church that have got to be examined. That's just the tip of the iceberg. And Juniper, thank you very much for coming out tonight. I do appreciate you being here. That's just the tip of the iceberg. When speaking of June 15, 2021, he was asked about Robin and Dave Dotson being at his property. He acknowledges that Robin was there and says he doesn't know who Dave Dotson is. It just doesn't make sense. Hello, say something, and Ava, thank you very much for coming out. Find Summer's Truth. I did see you come in. I apologize. I didn't say hello to you yet. He does not know David Dotson, however you want to say, however his name's spelled. Excuse me, however his name is spelled. Another connection to the church. Don Wells says that Summer was about to go on a sleepover with some other girl from the church. A lot of connections to the church, folks. Still don't believe the church is not somehow involved. I'm sorry, I just don't see it. How that somebody, I'm not saying the church itself, but I'm saying there's problems within the church. Maybe it's a doctrine type of thing where what they believe has to be looked at, because I don't know. I just don't see it, but I see something is wrong with the church that has to be looked at. Five or 6 days ago, apparently Tim Mullins had put up a post on the Find Summer Wells website in which he was told about voices behind the wall. It was a silhouette of a child. And the silhouette had a saying or slogan or something to the effect that find out who has Summer next. Who has Summer next? Tim Owens, the hell are you talking about? Why would you even think to post something like that about a missing kid? It doesn't exist anymore, and here's why. After Voices Behind the Wall told Don Wells about it, Don Wells, quote unquote, I will get a hold of Tim Mullins and make him understand, make him understand how that's inappropriate and have him take it down. I started off just about, 50 minutes ago with saying that Don Wells is obfuscating the gag order. Does anybody remember the statement that Tim Mullins put out there on the Find Summer Wells website, that he is not a voice for the Wells? He does not speak for the Wells. That he can't speak for the Wells. This is his own website, his own pictures, his own information. But right there, he said he's going to tell the media manager to take something off his website, meaning that despite the gag order, Tim Mullins is still speaking for the Wells through that website. There is the undeniable proof of that happening. I think Liplock here is making an absolutely excellent point that we need to stop for a second, even though we need to backtrack and take a look at. If SDA is involved, Summer would have been moved around much like the Women and Children's Underground Railroad. She could be anywhere in the world, literally. Liplock, I appreciate you putting into the exact words of what I was in roundabout ways saying and not directly saying. I appreciate you doing that. They then backtrack and go to Robin, back to focusing on Robin for a moment. And Don Wells actually defends Robin and says that he was just doing what Robin finds natural to comfort and console people and families. He's actually putting out there he doesn't think Robin has anything to do with it. Neither do I, for the record. But he's putting it out there that he doesn't believe that Robin has anything to do with this. Sorry, folks. I'm making sure I didn't skip anything here. He was asked when he had last spoken to LE, law enforcement. He was asked when he had spoken last to law enforcement. His quote on that was, they go back and forth with things that aren't to be spoken about, but sorry, I'm having trouble reading my writing. I wrote this kind of fast. Aren't spoken about, but never said when they last spoke. This is in the video that was 4 days ago. He doubles back, and then he says, oh, we spoke a few days ago. And then in an interview that happened just yesterday, again with Voices Behind the Wall, he was again asked, when did he last speak to law enforcement? And he said it's been about a month. So which is it? You spoke to them in July or the beginning of August, because we're now in the beginning of September. Or was it just about a week ago at this point? Can't keep his story straight. He can't keep his story straight. When he said he spoke to him a few days ago, he claims that it's like playing mind games with them, but it's only when his mind goes down rabbit holes that he contacts them. We have an answer to something that keeps getting asked about the boy that was found in Virginia in the trash can. It's the one piece of information that I can actually say that actually makes any sense at all in the past week of him being interviewed or talked to or anything. He was asked if they gave a DNA test sample for the child that was found in the trash can in Virginia. He said yes, they did. He's not supposed to speak of it, but there was no match, no DNA hit. Hello, Crystal. Thank you very much for coming out. I appreciate you being here. It gets a little bit interesting as it gets close to the end here. And I'm going to explain, and I'm going to tie it into Miss Sour Cream's beginning of her live tonight. He was asked, what does he believe happened to Summer Wells? Like he's been asked umpteen times. But his answer has shifted again. The answer has shifted again. Yes, I don't say that there's two creators named Scott that I don't say directly. Miss Sour Cream is one of them. The other one that thinks that she's the only channel that's for Summer Wells on YouTube. I know 4 guys that are on YouTube that do more for Summer Wells than those 2 channels. So when he was asked what happened to Summer Wells, his answer was that he would not say, but did say that he kind of already said it. And someone took her all after coming up the hill. And then who he alleges, without naming a name, says it was obvious who it was after recent events. What he's talking about is two things. That he doesn't want to name names because he's realizing that's what is actually getting him into hot water with law enforcement, and why he's being told that he's got to stay off YouTube. So he's making a blanket accusation that he's literally just flinging a blanket out there. And he says, we're just going to cover everybody under this blanket, with the exception of grandma, who he says that's the only person that's been cleared, and she's not around, and she's not going to be around. And I also, by the way, while I'm here on talking about grandma, Candace's mom has not talked to Ellie, but she's not a suspect, according to Don Wells. So we're going to fling a blanket out there, and we're going to make sure it covers everybody, everything. I mean, we're talking it's CPS's fault. It's his neighbor's fault. It's everybody but Don and Candace's fault what happened to Summer. That's what this blanket accusation is. They've shifted the narrative. They've taken this whole entire idea of where they were from the very get-go, and they're taking a hyper-defensive state of it's not us. We didn't do it. We had nothing to do with it. And we're going to try to place blame on persons that in their own minds, a delusion of blaming a system meant to protect children. Blaming their neighbors who have nothing to do with Summer, Moon, Utah Wells going missing on 6/15/21. They have their own issues going on in life. Whether it be that they've had to move from Ben Hill Road for whatever reason, or they're currently locked up for whatever reason. Those external reasons that have nothing to do with Summer Wells. Do not matter. Janice, that's an interesting question. They have interviewed persons from the church. There's just no evidence for them to follow up on. Candace, I think you have an excellent point here. Bear with me a moment. I'm going to come back to your point. I'm going to go ahead and flag them so on my side that I can come back to them in just a moment. I'm just scanning over what you're saying there. I think you have actually an excellent point going on there, and I want to take a look at that. Thank you, Candace Moore, and thank you very much for that. And then on top of this new delusion of what is right, they're deciding now to continue to play the game of just like back in the 80s or 90s. I can't remember the song name off the top of my head, but there was a song where they were saying cash rules everything around me, and that it's a problem of OPM, other people's money. They're trying to take advantage of people's good nature again, and they're doing so in a harder core fashion than they did before, when they were with the dogs and the Amazon list and other things. They're doing so in a harder fashion now. It took less than 25 minutes of one of them being live tonight for a Cash App for them was put out on display. Less than 25 minutes. What is their priority? Blame everybody else and take advantage of other people willing to give them money. Their actions are telling you what the hell is their motive. Crystal, absolutely. Absolutely. That it props them up to a level that you don't even understand. It encourages them to keep going, keep with the delusion that they are so innocent of what happened and they're the victim. They keep playing that game that we're the victim. On 6/15/2021, there was only one victim. Only one victim. I can't find it again. Up there it is right there. That's Summer Moon Utah Wells. My apologies, folks. I bounced myself from the studio for a moment. There was only one victim. Summer Moon Utah Wells. She was the victim of her own parents. I don't mean to sound repetitive, but I've said this before, and I mean this 100%. No child should ever have to worry about anything but the monsters that are under the bed or in their closet that they believe exist when the lights go out at night. Not the parents that were and are their own parents. The monsters in this are her parents. Somebody earlier said, preach it tonight. I know I'm preaching to the choir at the moment. But it has to be said. This has to be said because it's just that important. I'm going to go and take a look at what, before I continue on, I'm going to take a look at what Candace Morin had said here in the chat. Such legal exemptions, and please, from just going by the first few words of what she's saying here, I believe this has everything to do with what I was saying about the SDA Church in the video I was showing earlier from what live I had done. involving legalism and everything else that was going on in the video that John Q had done with me about this topic. Such legal exemptions in Idaho and other states means, for example, that a parent withholds medical treatment for an ailing child and instead of opts for spiritual treatment through prayer. The child will not be considered will not to be considered neglected, under the law, even if he or she dies. These exemptions are meant to accommodate the teachings of some religions group, such as Christian Scientists and the Idaho-based Followers of Christ. Some of these groups urge, and in the case of Followers of Christ, sometimes mandate that the use of faith-based healing practices in lieu of medical science. Candace, I highly appreciate that information because that was driving exactly is exactly what I was saying. It's another fringe religion group that has ideology that's not mainstream, not considered to be mainstream. Don was asked another interesting question. That were the kids taken to the doctor? And the precise wording of it was in emergencies. Now, this is alluding, Whistle While You Lurk. Thank you very much for coming out. I appreciate you being here. Leg Superior Girl, thank you very much for being here. I appreciate you doing so. This was alluding to the rumor, and it was put into the question, the rumor that Candace had to call Don before taking the theory that I believe in, that there was a sudden illness that happened, and instead of taking Summer to the hospital, that she had to call Don first to get permission to do so. This is why it fits so perfectly in what I just read about with what Candace Morin had just said. He says no. That Candace does not, or she had better take him to the doctor in that type of situation. Now, that's not exact words. That's alluding, because his words were she would call 911. It's content, again, discussion and all opinion. Opinion based upon what they said. But catch this. The next words out of his mouth were that all well-being checks were done. That all shots for school that were required for school were done on all the kids. I did not get a chance to listen to the whole entire conversation. I'm going to go back and listen to the rest of where I left off. So we're probably going to revisit this topic in another day or so. But as I was winding down and running out of time tonight to focus on what they were saying, Don Wells did make the statement and was asked about them taking polygraphs. And again, he reiterates that they passed, both of them, Don Wells and Candace Wells, passed a polygraph test. I don't believe it, Don. I don't believe it, Candace. Fred Hill was given a letter about the polygraph test that he took. Put your polygraph test out on the internet. Both of them. Prove to us that you passed. We're not going to accept your word of, well, we passed. We passed the polygraph, no problem. Maybe you did, Don. But I have problems believing that Candace passed. Because Candace was actually asked to come back and for additional questions and refused. Katerina, you're exactly right. Originally, he said he failed. But to this questioning, he said, "Oh yeah, we passed." My point is, I don't care about the legality of whether it's admissible in a court or anything like that. You had enough suspicion or enough cause to ask for Candace to come back in for additional questioning, and she never did. Address that, Don. Address that. Or Candace, address that. That was because they only took it once, Katerina. Because they could not come back test positive or test clean, they had to come back to take the polygraph test at a later date. They hid behind the CPS lawyer for a bit, I bet. Crystal, you're right. They did. They tried. We have the again, I'm asking everybody to jog your memory back to 6/15/2021. Hi, Real Rock and Robin. How are you doing tonight? Appreciate you coming in. Jog your memory back to 6/15/2021. You have the time frame in which they were at the horse pond swimming. And it comes out at a later time. I don't remember the exact time that it came out, but it gets known by a worker at the horse pond that there was a vehicle that was identified as belonging to the Wells that was parked there for the majority of the day. That's the information that was leaked by the or about the statement that the workers at the horse stable, gave to the police. Don Welsh tries to redirect that statement again. This is the second time he tries to redirect that statement, to change that statement. It was about 3 weeks ago, I want to say now, probably 2 weeks ago. Don Welsh said that he only had the red car for part of the day, and he actually had a truck, one of the trucks, later in the day. I, among other, the creator said, I, among other creators, believe that there was an exchange of vehicles that happened at some point of the day. Had to be. It doesn't make sense. None of it makes sense without there being an exchange of vehicles. But DW, Don Wells, claims that the horse stable employees only saw the Wells vehicle for a couple of hours while they were waiting for the prescriptions. That's not what they said. That's not what the horse stable employees said. They said the majority of the day. He tried to dwindle it down to just a couple of hours. Most of the day, I'm going to take it as plain, but as face value. I don't know how many hours in a day the horse stable employee, the horse handler, whoever his title may be, is. But let's assume that it's an 8-hour day. Most of the day is 5-6 hours of the day. I'm just assigning a number to it. I'm not saying that's what he said. I'm simply assigning a number because he didn't say half of the day. He said most of the day. So I'm going to take it was more than half of the day, not quite his full shift, because we don't know when he started or when he ended. Now, 5 or 6 hours, that makes more sense to most of the day. Out of all this information that I'm putting out here tonight and reviewing without playing the clips, because I don't want strikes, I don't want to deal with that BS. Simply saying I heard this on another channel is good enough for me. The most disturbing quote I can give you out of all of this is that he still cannot say Summer Moon Utah Wells. He can still not say his daughter's name. I don't remember the question was, and I don't care what the question was. Forgive me, I'm looking for something. Carrie, if you don't mind, throw up the information about Summer again. Summer Moon, Utah Wells. 6/15/21. When he was asked about somebody taking Summer Wells or Summer Wells going missing, his reply is this: that they were robbed of their little girl. They were robbed of their daughter. Two+ years later, 2 weeks from being 27 months, and you can't say your daughter's name? Damn, dude. What is wrong with you? You still can't say your daughter's name. You can't come to the grips of reality that you had or your wife had something to do with the disappearance of Summer Moon Utah Wells. That is what that boils down to. It's deniability and deflection, and it's why you cannot say her name. It's ridiculous. Plain and simply ridiculous. If anybody wants to join me, I know there's some creators here, and whether or not they can, they want to. That's completely up to them. I've gone ahead and pinned at the top the link to join me on StreamYard. Anybody else is more than welcome to do so. Just because I'm shifting gears, do not think for 1 second that I'm still not pissed. No other way to say it. I'm still pissed. As every single other person that has a grandchild, has a child, has a sister, a sibling, doesn't matter if it's male or female, a cousin, a niece or nephew, it doesn't matter. All of them are included. Everybody. Even if you're unable to have kids but desperately want kids, you should be equally pissed off, because if this was handled right and they could not afford to keep Summer, appropriate adoption could happen. It's just every single time they open their mouth, you can't help but to hear and every time I hear them open their mouth, I can't help but to hear a very common saying in the South happens. Open mouth stupid falls out. Find Summer's truth. You're exactly right. It's infuriating. Robin, yes. The Road Rock and Robin, yes. It is so heartful. The speculation is rampant. No truth and no justice for Summer. Just breaks your heart. I know all of our hearts are broken. Exactly. It's been what now? 3 months ago. It was right about the time that it was the 2-year mark that Ronnie Lawson had said that we hope to have a press conference soon to announce more information or announce information. 2.5, almost 3 months later. We still haven't heard what this information is. So, Ronnie Lawson, what is it that you're not telling us? Tell us. We want to know what happened to this poor child. Bear with me a second, folks. Gary, I hope you don't mind. I'm going to go ahead and say what you just told me. It falls into the blanket blame that they're casting out there. The blanket blame. Carrie just had said, well, now now I see the focus is now back on Robin and the church. That was their intent. I want to be clear about what she's saying. I understand. I understand completely what she's saying, and I agree with what she's saying. I want to make sure that the focus of this whole entire live, though, even though I've put out there information that this could be linked back to the church somehow, this is 100% about Summer Moon Utah Wells. No matter what Don Wells says, and the information I can put out to you to show you what he's saying and how he's saying it, is not correct. But at the same time, it presents something that needs to be looked into to eliminate. I want to eliminate that the church is involved. This has everything to do with finding out what happened to Summer Moon Utah Wells, whether it is a rescue or a recovery. Let them cast that net that we were speaking of, that blanket blame, to include Robin, to include the church, to include CPS. Keep your focus and my focus on Summer Moon Utah Wells, because that is what is important. And if I'm right about them hiding behind the church, This is why I'm saying that the church does need to be looked into. I swear, I hope I'm completely wrong about the church. But I'm so tired of not finding out what happened to church to Summer Moon Utah Wells. You have to stop and say, "Hey, look, this is what the Wells are saying." How can we say that that's not a truth of what happened? Lake Superior girl, exactly. The evening Summer went missing. The only people that came to help, that came prepared to help, exception of the law enforcement, was Robin and David. That's because Candace called Robin. And it was because of the reason that Candace called Robin, why her daughter was in dance recital. Let's remember that. Whether it was a recital or practice, I don't remember. But the point is that she was not in a position to have done anything to Summer. The photos we've seen of interaction between Robin and Summer are so huge on maternal instinct to simply love on the child unconditionally. And I believe that is exactly what's going on. I'm I know I haven't been on a lot lately, guys, and it's just frustration. And I don't know how many times and how many ways we can say that it's important to keep the focus on Summer. I don't want to come across as I'm criticizing any creator, because each and every time a creator speaks, it gives perspective. Whether it be Ziggy with Fred Hill, or whether it be Justin for All and all the work he's doing, or Voices Behind the Wall with talking to Don Wells again, or it gives perspective, gives insight to their mindset. But this has to be about Summer. Lip lock no more is right. Unless a child is abducted right in front of one's eyes, one has no time of disappearance. Only the time that last seen, and Candace can't even answer that. Yes, there's one phrase that I refuse to say, and that's trust me on this. In fact, I want everybody to do the opposite of trust me on this. I can present to you the facts, I can present to you evidence, but we're all about starting a conversation here. A conversation that reaches out beyond my channel. Process it and ask questions. Don't just ask them to me. Ask them to other creators who have done other research. And no, this is not about putting my name out there or putting my channel out there. It's about getting the truth about summer out there. When you don't have a care in the world and all you do is enjoy life, drink and smoke and do whatever. When I say smoke, I am referring to cigarettes. I don't know what she took and what she didn't take, what she smoked, what she didn't smoke. Time escapes you when you're enjoying life. It's directed at you, Candace. The Veritas Aquatus, thank you very much. I didn't say hello to you earlier. Thank you for coming in. It's about time. That all creators get together. Or at least the ones that were willing to work together. My channel, their channel, I don't care. True Crime Obsession, thank you very much for coming out tonight. How are you doing, by the way? I was thinking about you the other day. Good. I'm glad. True Crime Reception. Thank you. I appreciate you letting me know. It's just about time. Whether I hate to say this because it's going to be impossible, in my opinion, to wrangle them away from the channels that will brown nose their way through an interview. We're trying from day one to ask them the real questions that they avoid. And if they know you're going to ask the serious, real questions, You're a trash channel to them. True crime obsession. I'm doing very well. Thank you very much. I appreciate you asking. For as much quiet time that they've spent answering questions, still 1,001, if not more, questions that have never been asked. Exactly. Candace said that statement about the time that we're referring to, and I was turning it around to be on back, put it back on Candace, using their own words to put it back on them. She said, time escapes you when you're trying to enjoy life. Chris McDonough turned around and said, oh, yeah, Tennessee time. I get it. It's Tennessee time. They like to try to ask questions or make this about anybody and everybody else. And how they won't work with Chris McDonough and the Cold Case Foundation, for example, which Brandy has pleaded them as a fellow person that has a missing kid, and explained that the Cold Case Foundation actually does a huge amount of work and takes burdens off of them to be a go-between between LE and the family. And they refuse their help. The work that Cold Case Foundation does is seeing it with Brandy. Now I don't know the details of what happened, but how much that she says that they have done for her. I just can't help but to think that they are hiding something. What is it that you're hiding? What is it that you know, Don Wells, Candace Wells? Country Girl, that's exactly why I bring up Brandy as an example. It's exactly why I bring up Brandy. We don't know what happened to Monkey Michael Vaughn yet. But I believe they are far closer to knowing what happened than they are to Summer. And it has everything to do with the parents not cooperating. In one sentence, in one interview with the same channel, you say it was about within the past few days you've had contact, and then another interview that happened within the past 24 hours, you say that it's been a month since you had contact with law enforcement. But yet her parents cannot get the mental image or the idea in their head that they need to be the advocate. They need to be the public voice. Not a YouTube channel like mine, not a YouTube channel like anybody out there. They need to be the one saying, I have a missing child. I'm here to talk about my missing child and put the truth and have the truth put out there. Yes, Scott, they have. But in reality, you have complete opposite when it comes to Summer. You have the channels, the creators, myself, and I want to say there's easily a half dozen other that are doing so in a responsible way, or trying their damnedest to keep it in a responsible way, of keeping Summer's name out there. It shouldn't be that way. It should be the parents chomping at the bit to say, my daughter, Summer Moon Utah Wells, has been missing for 26 and a half months. Let's talk about my daughter. Yes, Brooks is awesome. Crime Line and Lies, I believe her channel is. Yes, she is awesome. Unfortunately, I don't get a chance to watch her all the time, Crystal. Only a couple days a week at a couple hour, or maybe an hour at 45 minutes. If she made the same point at some point, it's purely coincidental, I assure you. Job and Lockham, thank you very much for coming out. I appreciate you being here. Country Girl, that's an excellent question. And it fits perfectly what they're doing of deflection and denial and everything they do. Why look for someone if you know where they are? I keep saying that the longer this investigation goes on, the target widens on the Wells. And I don't mean like it gets larger and larger and circles more of the wells. I mean that it's actually narrowing and only focusing on what the wells say and what the wells do. That's the widening part. The wells will answer for their actions and guilty knowledge and secrets sooner or later. I believe it's going to be sooner. Drop and lock them. I hope you're right. Seriously, I hope you're right. Scott H., I know you said this to specify the person, but you said I agree. They act like what you'd imagine a parent would act like, still do. And I believe that has everything to do with Brandy and Tyler. And is a lesson that the Wells still need to take. Stop casting this wide net of blame everybody. It's a mental delusion that somebody gave you as a strategy. Kathy K., thank you very much for coming out tonight. I don't necessarily think that the cops ever stopped searching. I think they pivoted how they searched a few different times. And at this point, they're waiting. At least I personally believe, this is my personal belief. It's just an opinion. It's not based on anything I know, no factual thing. I am not associated with anything anything to do with any law enforcement whatsoever. People keep asking me that for some reason. I don't know if it's because I just try to look at things in a different angle than what others may think they hear or think they see. But I don't believe, Crystal, that the cops did stop searching. I think their methods of searching had a pivot. And as the evidence has pointed them, it's pivoted and turned back on the parents. Got it. Good. Wanted to make sure. Hello, Unified for Summer. Unified for Summer. That's exactly what we're about here. I don't care if you think that she's alive. I don't care if you think like myself and that just cannot believe that she is. And hello, thank you for coming out. It is that we are here to be unified for Summer and that we want recovery or rescue. We want Summer found. That is what Summer's army, that some try to pivot and try to make it completely what it is not. That is what Summer's army is. We want a child recovery or research or rescue. We want her found. We want her to have a full life, if possible, to be raised correctly, not in the conditions that she would have been raised in on Ben Hill Road. Katarina, thank you. That's exactly my point. Summer's army wants her found, and if foul play occurred, then we want justice for Summer. That's it. That's all we want. Crystal, exactly. You taking the words right out of my head. We are after the truth. I said it once. I said it 100 times. Easily 100 times. No matter what the evidence points, no matter what Don Wells, no matter what Candace Wells says, they were never the victim on 6/15/2021. It was always Summer Moon Utah Wells. 6/15/2021, Rogersville, Tennessee. White female, blonde hair, blue eyes, 40 pounds, 3 feet tall. Last seen wearing gray pants, pink shirt, possibly barefoot. Please contact Hawkins County Sheriff, 423-272-7121 or 1-800-TBI-FIND. Not based on what I say or any other YouTuber says. Only do so if you have proof of anything. Either Summer's alive, knowing where she is, or is she you run into proof that there's something more nefarious happens or happened. Don't do it based on what I say or any other YouTuber says. And Sherry's opinion, I don't know if I said hello to you earlier or not, but thank you very much for being here. You're kind of catching me at the end, though. There's a saying. I'm not a real fan of professional wrestling, WWE, whatever it is called anymore. But every once in a while, my YouTube feed pops up stuff from when I was like a teenager, and when it comes to wrestling. There was a wrestler. His name was Stone Cold Steve Austin. One of his sticks or mantras or whatever you want to call it was DTA. Don't trust anyone. Question everything until you're sure that you found the truth. Question everything until you feel like you ran into a dead end. I don't think enough questions have been asked yet. I don't think that enough information is out there yet to say we know what happened. We have the answer. We have a clue of the answer. Excuse me, folks. I apologize. A lot of service-based jobs, and this is kind of. I'm wrapping down. I'm winding down tonight, folks. I haven't eaten supper yet, so I need to go and eat supper, make supper. A lot of questions. A lot of times, we can sit there and think we know the answer. Let's just take a look at what happened with. I don't know if you heard it or not, and I'm going to touch a little bit of politics or a little bit of, oh my goodness, I can't believe this is happening type of deal stuff. A 12-year-old boy was kicked out of school for a day because he wore a pin on his backpack that was for the Gadsden flag. If you're not familiar with what that flag is that I've just mentioned, it's the flag that has the yellow flag with the snake on it, a rattlesnake on it. It says, "Don't tread on me." That little boy, 12 years old, didn't settle with knowing or not knowing the history behind it that goes above and beyond what school teaches them. He dared to learn more on his own. If each and every single person that follows Summer Wells did the same exact thing, whether it be the SDA church, whether it be whatever detail that you feel that you have a connection to about Summer, and not just Summer's missing. That so much information will be flooded out there on YouTube, on social media of any kind about Summer Wells. There would be no denying, no sitting there for the Wells to say, this person's lying on our name, this person's doing this person's doing that. That we, the creators, are trying to spin what they say. Every single detail of what they say and how they say it is not the truth would be proven in a heartbeat. Find Summer's truth, exactly. This case would explode. What the Wells say would implode. I was saying a little while ago, and Carrie said it for me in the chat. We don't want you to trust what we say. We want to light a fire for you, not only just us, to research. I'm all about this channel as much as your channel as it is my name. It's September. I'm challenging everybody. Let's see how much information we can truly put out there that's in the positive. whether it's proving something, some information that the wells say is not true, or if it's proving something about some wells that we had not even expected before. Let's see how much that information that we can put out there about Summers Wells by the end of the month. I didn't plan on saying this. I'm about to, my job in a month, we go into our busy time of the year. And I kind of take a bit of a hiatus or a step back from YouTube a little bit, even though I really haven't been on YouTube a whole lot. I'm hoping that it won't need to do so next month. But if I only appear, I'm hoping to be available more this month and be around more than the 3 times that I was this month or last month. I'm hoping by the end of this month, there is so much information out there, so much new information out there, that the Wells heads are spinning so much quicker and more violent than the woman in the movie The Exorcism, that they can't even keep their story straight, that they do nothing but trip over the truth and start spewing out the truth. Yes. No matter what religion, no matter how you believe in religion, positive prayer, positive thoughts, prayers for Nana's Angel's family, Myra, as they go through what they're going through. Very tragic loss for their family to have somebody die so unexpectedly. So absolutely positive energy, prayers, whatever your religion says, please send them to her family. Like I said, I'm going to call it a night. It's going on 11:15 with my time. If you don't know the tradition of my channel, every single night we close out with the same saying. If you have a child, no matter how old or how young they are, give them an extra hug tonight, an extra kiss. Send them a text message, phone call, whatever it may be. Whatever it may be. Reach out to them and know them how special they are and how important they are to you. Because you never know when will be never know how much that will mean to them. Katerina, don't ever feel that you have to be anything. Everybody's opinion is welcome here. And just for the record, I don't say this often, but I want to make sure it's clear that I will never, ever ask for a penny from anybody on this channel. My channel has more than enough subscribers and is getting close to the mark of how many watch hours I need to have to go ahead and hit that button, the whatever they call it, YouTube calls it. It's never going to be touched. Not on this channel. It's not a criticism of anybody that does hit that monetization button or not. It's just a decision I made for this channel. Nonetheless, I hope everybody has a wonderful evening, or what may be left of it. This is Conversations Living Room with RJ. I am RJ. I hope you have a wonderful rest of the night. I'm out.